Let's get right into audience questions for the week. One that is increasingly coming in different forms is, would it really be possible for the United States to vote by mail in the 2020 presidential election? I think one thing that's important is you've got to reframe this question as what it actually is, which is, would all 50 states really be able to vote by mail in the 2020 election? Because you really have 50 state elections in the 2020 presidential election. So while the debate has been Nancy Pelosi says she wants vote by mail in November, Trump doesn't, and we know why Trump doesn't. It would be bad for Trump for more people to more easily be able to vote. Trump, in fact, is essentially counting on his supporters going out to vote, but Biden supporters not going to vote, maybe because of fears of the coronavirus. We don't exactly know where that's going to be yet in November. But for a lot of states, so some states already have vote by mail. States that don't, what you're really talking about, the right loves to make it seem like this is this overwhelming task. How do we go from no vote by mail to national vote by mail? Well, if you already have absentee ballots, which as far as I know, every state or almost every state does, you have to scale up the absentee ballot program. You've got to print more ballots in advance. In some states, there are laws that say you can't just send an absentee ballot to everyone. People have to request it, and then you're able to send it to them. I've argued that simply pointing at the policy is not really proactive governance. Instead, we should say, let's pass something that this year, because of extenuating circumstances, you don't have to request an absentee ballot. One will merely be sent to you. And then it's just, we're talking about a mass mail campaign, essentially. So the issue of getting the ballots to people could be solved if we start dealing with it now. The issue of printing enough ballots could be solved if we start dealing with it now. The economic cost of the postage is far smaller than the economic cost of the election potentially escalating or causing a second wave of coronavirus infection. And we've got about 7 months to do it. So the answer is yes, the US really could vote by mail in 2020, but you would need to start that process now. And it seems to me that, especially appearing to be past the peak on this first wave of coronavirus, the political appetite for doing that, especially from the right, is not going to be enough to reach critical mass. Now, sadly, if a second wave gets going closer to the fall, you then may get a lot more people, even Republicans, saying, we've got to do vote by mail. We have to expand absentee ballots to everybody in states that have absentee ballots instead of vote by mail. It probably will be too late by then. That's the unfortunate reality. By that point, the process of printing all of the ballots, putting in place enough sort of public information about the fact that this is the way it's being done, dealing with the fact that many states have a rule that you can only send an absentee ballot to someone who has requested it. You can't just start sending them out. By then, it will be too late. Like, if we don't deal with this, if on September 25th we see that wave 2 of coronavirus is exploding and we've got to deal with this, it probably will be too late by then. The question mark right now, the test case is Ohio. Ohio, you might remember, was scheduled to have their primary in March. They postponed it because of the virus, said it would be done June 2nd, have since changed and said, we're going to run sort of like a nearly month-long vote by mail campaign but until April 28th. But everybody has to request a ballot. Again, relying on this thing about we can't just send the ballots, people have to request them. So we will see in Ohio how it works in the Democratic primary. And then we'll see if there's the political will from states to actually do this. Now, what you have to also remember is, because these are state decisions, you could have a situation in November where the states that are likely to be Biden states do the vote by mail and Biden wins regardless. And the states that are likely to be Trump anyway don't set up vote by mail and they go to Trump. The difference maker, as usual, will be, what does Michigan do? What does Pennsylvania do? What does North Carolina do? Those few states that end up making a difference. And then it's anyone's guess. This is one area where it's good that Michigan has a Democratic governor. It's good that Kentucky now has a Democratic governor, because it could be the difference maker in, do they vote by mail or not in November? And thus, does the election flip towards Joe Biden or back towards a Donald Trump reelection? Scary stuff, a lot riding on it.